At Bristol Airport, holidaymakers have just returned home from Arrecife in Lanzarote. The Canary Islands are outside of the EU for tax purposes, and there are tight restrictions on duty-free goods coming into the country. Officers are using X-ray machines to find any bags that have exceeded these limits. 3 suitcases appear to be full of cigarettes, so officers wait in the baggage hall to see if the owners will declare the goods.
Looking at the Arrecife flight, which is non-EU, so there is an allowance, 200 cigarettes, 250 grams of tobacco per adult, and we'll see if anything transpires.
Officers believe that the cigarettes they found are likely to be sold illegally. They suspect the people carrying them may not be the only ones involved.
Oh, you take them, huh?
So instead of pulling them over, they'll be followed. 2 women appear with the suspect cases, and, as anticipated, they walk straight through the Nothing to Declare channel. Officers follow close behind, and once outside, the women are joined by a male accomplice. As the passengers load their bags into a waiting car, officers run to intercept them. A quick look in the first case shows it's full of cigarettes.
Okay, car keys?
Sorry?
Keys?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And as the other 2 cases are opened, they too are stuffed to the brim with cigarettes.
At the moment, these cigarettes are all seized, all right? You understand that? Confiscated?
Yes.
Okay. At the moment,
Yeah.
this vehicle
Yeah.
is also seized. We keep the vehicle. Do you understand that?
And why?
Because the cigarettes were in the vehicle.
Yeah. I need my car.
Okay, well, you have to sort that out later, but at the moment it's seized, right?
I'm only driver. These people rental me. I need my car.
What we're saying is you've used this vehicle to transport the goods. We saw them in the vehicle,
Yeah, I
and that's
don't
why
know
it's seized.
what's inside the bag. What's inside?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have
Come on,
cigarettes in your
let's sort it all
bag?
out inside.
Yeah,
You all go inside. Yeah?
It may sound harsh, but the car will remain seized until they've got to the bottom of the suspected smuggling ring. Back at Bristol, officers are busy emptying 3 suitcases filled entirely with cigarettes smuggled into the UK from Lanzarote. The passengers have been informed that the cigarettes and the vehicle being used to carry the cigarettes are being seized. The driver, who claims he's just collecting his friends and knows nothing of the suspected cigarette smuggling ring, is taken into a private room for questioning.
So who are these for?
This is mine.
For you? You smoke all of it?
Yes, I smoke.
Your friends smoke?
Yes.
Yeah.
But officers don't believe that this many cigarettes are for personal consumption only.
How many do you reckon we've got altogether, roughly? Please.
We've got to be talking 30, 40,000.
The passengers are questioned separately to try and establish more information about the suspected smuggling ring.
Did you buy it? You bought it. Okay. Did you go? Did you go just to buy cigarettes?
No.
No.
Holidays.
For one day?
2 days.
2 days? One night? Yeah.
The one gentleman with the red jacket, he seems to be the money man in this organisation.
So you just carry the cigarettes for enforcement?
Okay.
That's fine. I don't know, because I am a secret, and you needed the money, so you did it for the money. Okay, it's all right.
I don't know where she buying, when.
You don't know who she's buying them for? No?
All of the passengers' stories seem to contradict each other.
He knew there was fags in those cases, because when we went out and he caught sight of us following him, he separated it to say, whoa.
Outside of the European Union, passengers are allowed to bring back a strict allowance of just 200 cigarettes.
Cigarettes are gone, okay? Seized.
You take it.
Yeah, you are over your allowance, you're not allowed any of them. No. This tells you how you can appeal, but It's up to you whether you...
I'm not reading.
You're not reading it? No? Well, that's up to you.
The man's reluctance to read the appeal procedure reinforces officers' suspicions that the cigarettes were intended to be sold. Both men leave their supposed friends behind. They'll have to find an alternative way home, since their car remains seized.
From this particular time, the action is just limited to seizure. But if they're caught repeatedly, it might be a bit more serious next time.
The female passengers also leave the airport empty-handed, and the massive haul of 37,000 cigarettes will be sent for incineration. The group of suspected cigarette smugglers in Bristol were required to pay the unpaid duty on their 37,000 cigarettes to get their car back. As yet, it remains unclaimed. At Gatwick Airport, flights arrive on a daily basis from the Caribbean. Officers use sniffer dogs to find traces of drugs being imported illegally from countries with strong links to the drugs trade. If the dog makes a positive indication, passengers are pulled aside in the customs channels so they can be searched further. One such passenger is a young male who's returning from a holiday with his girlfriend.
You packed everything yourself, yeah? Yeah. Has anybody asked you to carry any goods through? Okay. You have food in your bag?
No, I have this in my bag.
Sorry?
I have this in my bag, yeah. There's nothing in it, though. Just outside.
The man produces a small cannabis pipe, and officers suspect he's a drug user.
In Montego, yeah.
The passengers open up about the drugs they've encountered as their suitcase is swabbed for any traces.
You can smoke we didn't even get offered it, but then we didn't go on.
Despite proclaiming their innocence, the results from the drug swab test are alarmingly high.
It's very, very high. We need to look at this a bit more, I think.
It's starting to get a little...
That's the one that the dog showed interest in as well.
He's starting to get a little antsy about it.
Keep this.
Last week he's been using her out there.
Yeah.
Just do another one in the in another area in the same sort of bag.
In the same bag?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just
they're showing a very high reading for drugs at the moment. Have you? No. Okay. I'm not saying you have. Okay, but have you been smoking anything, or?
Well,
it's probably best to declare at this moment.
My mates do when I'm back at home, but I don't.
Yeah, you don't personally.
No, I
use
don't.
it.
No.
Okay.
So did you try anything while you're out there?
No, I'm telling you, lie to you.
The bag is swabbed again in a different place to see if the readings are consistently high. This time, there's a small trace reading for cocaine and heroin.
Have you been through the bag at all?
Basic, so I haven't gone through every single item, as in really scrutinised it.
Yeah, I'll take him in for a rub down, see how you go.
Officers decide to take their search to the next level to see if he's got any drugs on his body.
Okay, basically, as you can see, the
I ain't gonna
if you just wanted to explain
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
so you can see everything's being done above board. Basically, like I said, he's showing signs of drugs, but that doesn't mean to say you've got any. It's a very, very sensitive swab.
Yeah.
Okay. The dog has also shown an indication in you.
Right.
Okay. So what we want to do now is to bring you in for a search. Okay.
Which
we have to carry on.
Yeah.
Okay.
The man is led to a private room where he admits he's been stopped before.
I got stopped on the way out as well. He stopped me for 10 minutes, spoke to me, that was it.
Despite a thorough search, he's not found to be carrying any drugs. So officers try another check on his shoes. Meanwhile, the man's partner continues talking to officers and confesses that her boyfriend has been known to use drugs in the past. But no further traces of drugs are found from the shoes, and officers are happy he's not a smuggler.
Right, that's okay, yeah. Okay. Okay, do you like to say it's all done like that?
No, I ain't bothered.
Have you, just for my benefit, what you do is entirely up to you, but have you done a bit of gear, a bit of Charlie, anything like that?
No, I can't. No, I just had a medical about 3 months ago.
Right.
Glasses back, so I can't.
Right, okay. He was rubbed down and searched. There was nothing on him of customs interest. Nothing that would indicate any further drugs on his body or anything like that. He said he recently had a medical, which he said he doesn't use drugs at all. So from our point of view, we're quite happy for him to proceed.
The traces in the man's bag are put down to contamination, and the couple are free to leave.